Hi, hey, hello, how are you? And welcome to my channel. So a couple of weeks ago, I made a video called the Booktuber Newie Tag, and that video absolutely blew up by my channel standards and became my second most viewed video ever. And firstly, I wanted to say thank you because a lot of you that are watching this video today are here because of that video. That's how you found me, you subscribed because of that, and I really appreciate that. That is so awesome. But there was a question that I answered in that video that I realized later I completely forgot the other half of what my answer should have been. That question being, what unique things can you bring to BookTube? And I'm so sad that I didn't get to say everything else that I would have said because I just blanked in the moment. But at the same time, I'm not too mad about it because now I can make a whole video about it and fully explain my answer. So last year when I was trying to decide whether or not I was gonna start a BookTube channel, I had really wanted to start one for a long time. I just wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to pull the trigger. I realized that something that's really important to me, that cause being sustainability, is something that I feel like has to do with BookTube, but isn't necessarily talked about. I could be totally wrong. There could be lots of creators that talk about this all the time. I personally just haven't seen any. If you've seen any creators talk about this, feel free to comment down below. I would love to check out their channels and their videos. But anyway, I feel like sustainability is a subject that we can and should be talking about on BookTube and in relation to BookTube. Sustainability is something that I've been passionate about for a very long time, and I feel that the obvious mass overconsumption that we see regularly on BookTube does have an impact on the planet, and it might not be the best. Now, disclaimer, I am all for supporting authors. Obviously, in order to support authors, we need to buy and read their books. However, we also need to look out for ourselves. And I realize that not everyone that watches BookTube has access to disposable income to be buying as many books as frequently as the booktubers that they watch. We need to remember that these booktubers that are booktubers full-time, I am not, I would love to be, that would be an amazing dream, but I still have a full-time job. This is just something I do on the side for fun. These booktubers, they can buy books and write them off because this is their job. And I totally understand that it can be really hard to enjoy taking in this content, but at the same time feel like I can't do that. That's not for me. I guess I just can't be one of those cute book girlies because I can't afford to be buying all these books constantly. And this is something that I was seriously excited to share on YouTube when I first started my channel, and I just haven't really gotten to yet. So that's the purpose of this video. If you are in the same boat as me, if you love to take in this content but feel like it's unattainable financially, this video is for you. Now, I'm definitely not saying that in the name of sustainability, we should never ever buy books. In the name of minimalism, we should never have a collection of books in our house. I mean, if you've seen pretty much any of my other videos, most of them I shoot in front of my big bookcase that is filled to the brim with books. However, I do think it's worth saying that for me personally, I don't find value in keeping books that I've read that I didn't actually like just for the sake of the aesthetic of having a bunch of books behind me and having this huge library. All of the books that you see on the shelf behind me in those videos that are mine are books that I've genuinely enjoyed enough to keep them. I made an unhauling video in the beginning of January, and that's to show that I don't keep all the books that I read. If I read it and I didn't like it and it was mine, it's also mine to give away. It's mine to sell or donate. And I really enjoy doing that because that means that somebody else can pick that book up later and they might really enjoy it. And that makes me happy. And I think that it's amazing for the planet to keep books in rotation. Used books are not dirty, they're not gross, they've just been read by somebody else. Anyway, enough of this tangent. I want to give some practical tips, things that I actually do to be a cute book girly if you want to be, but you feel like you don't have the income for it. Number 1, borrow books. Borrow books from friends, borrow books from family members. It's so fun to borrow books because number 1, it's free. That is the most fun part. Anything that's free is amazing, obviously. But then also, chances are, if they own that book, they've already read it. So once you read it, you get to talk about it with them. And in my opinion, that experience can sometimes be better than actually reading the book. The community that you have with somebody else when you talk to them about a book that you've both read and are passionate about, like that absolutely lights my soul on fire. That is a feeling that I am constantly chasing. And that's another reason why I started this booktube channel, because I absolutely love being able to talk to people in the comments about books that we've both read. It's amazing. So yes, borrow books from your friends and family. I have a couple stats, not that I'm like a video essayist and I did all this research. These are my own personal stats. So I'm gonna go off of the last 2.5 years because I feel like the last 2.5 years are the years where I really dove into not only reading fiction, but also just reading constantly and like being really serious about reading as much as possible. So in 2022, I read 59 books, and in 2023, I read 67 books. This year, in 2024, I have read 26 books so far. Now, I went through all of those books from the last 2.5 years, and I counted which ones were mine, which ones I borrowed from people, and which ones I got from the library. I will talk more about the library in a minute. Anyway, in 2022, I borrowed 10 of those 59 books from other people. So those were completely free to me. I borrowed them from other people and then gave them back. But I still got to experience reading all of those books when maybe I wouldn't have otherwise, because maybe I wouldn't have had the money to buy those at the time. In 2023, I borrowed 8 books, and this year so far, I've borrowed 3 of the books that I've read. So in the last 2.5 years, I've borrowed 21 books from other people. And that's awesome. Like, that's great that I got to read those books that I didn't already own because somebody else had it and was like, yeah, sure, borrow it. So I highly suggest, before you contemplate whether or not you want to buy a book, see if anybody that you know has it. Because if you can borrow it, that's the way to go. Now, option number 2 is obviously the library. I love the library so much. I've talked about it in previous videos. I'm constantly using the library. The library is how I was able to get back into reading so heavily in 2022. In that year, I decided that I felt like I was missing out. I felt like there are so many super popular books that everyone talks about online, and I hadn't read any of them, and I felt really left out. So the quickest way to read all of those books as fast as possible was the library. At multiple points, I've gotten quite ahead of myself and put far too many books on hold at the library at the same time. And with my library, with physical holds, you can't just push them back as easily as you can with audiobook holds. Those are super easy. You can just click deliver later and then deliver it in how many days that you want it to be held off for. But with a physical hold, it's just there. You just get an email where it's just like, it's at the library, come pick it up now. And at one point, I think that I came home from the library with 12 books that were all due within the next like 2 weeks. And I think I ended up reading 9 out of the 12 of them. I was seriously overwhelming myself, but I was so happy that I was getting to read all of these books for free. A library card is free, and I highly, highly suggest that you utilize your local library. Please. I went through and I totaled up how many books I got in the last 2.5 years that were strictly from the library. I did not own it. I did not borrow it from a friend. And here are those numbers. In 2022, I got 24 books from the library. In 2023, I got 15 books from the library. And in 2024, so far, I've gotten 12 books from the library. So that means that in the last 2.5 years, I've gotten 51 books from the library. That is insane. That's literally so many books. If we add that number to the number of books that I've borrowed from other people, that's 72 books. Over the last 2.5 years, I've read 152 books, and 72 of those have been borrowed from the library or people that I know. That means that only 80 of those 152 books were mine. It's almost half and half. Like, that's actually insane. And if we're doing a little bit of rough math right there, if you say, okay, a new book that's hardcover might be like $25. You know what? Actually, let's knock it down to 20. So if a new book is $20 and I need to buy 72 of those books, all of those books that I got for absolutely free, that would be $1,440. So essentially, I saved myself over $1,400 just by borrowing and utilizing the library. You can be doing that too. I really hope that you are, because I feel like this is the coolest thing ever. Like, just to get free books and be able to say that you've read them and not have to pay for them. Amazing, amazing. My third tip is used bookstores. So if you're going to buy a book, I highly suggest you check your local used bookstore first. Check your little local free libraries, because those are gonna be discounted. Those are gonna be heavily discounted because they're not brand new. Even if the book is a little bit jacked up looking, it doesn't matter as long as you can read the words, right? So I highly suggest those. You can save a lot of money there. A lot of my books that I've bought are used books, and you can't even tell. They look brand new on the shelf, or they look like 1 or 2 people read them, and it doesn't matter to me. I literally don't care, because if I like a book, I just want to have the book. It doesn't matter to me whether or not it's like absolutely pristine. So I highly suggest using used bookstores. Please, please use used bookstores. Also, we don't want used bookstores to go out of business. Like, I love Barnes & Noble, don't get me wrong, and obviously I don't want them to go out of business either. However, our local used bookstores are so important, and it's kind of our job to keep them going. So, if you're gonna buy a book, I would check there first. And my fourth and final tip is to use Kindle deals. Now, I know that not everybody has a Kindle. I have a Kindle and it's my best friend. I love it so much. But if you don't have a Kindle, you can still get the Kindle app. And I know that it's not the most ideal to have to read something on your phone, but let me tell you, it can be done. Because in 2022, when I was reading the ACOTAR series for the first time, I read the entirety of A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Frost and Starlight on my phone. And that is a big deal, because A Court of Wings and Ruin is a 703-page book. And I read that literally on my phone because I was absolutely desperate to figure out what was gonna happen next. I did not own a Kindle yet. And for some reason, I just couldn't justify in the moment dropping the like $20, $25 to buy the book when I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the rest of the series. I personally would rather read a book for free first by borrowing it or getting it from the library before I buy it, because if I buy it and I don't like it, which you guys have seen me do, I have definitely bought books and read it and not liked it and been like, okay, I'm gonna donate this immediately. That is a little bit more disappointing, because you feel like you lost money on it since you don't like it. If you do like it, you're happy to have it sit up on your shelf because you would read it again. You would loan it out to a friend. So I've come to realize that for me, it's just better to read it for free first before I spend the money on it. And that's what was happening in this case. I was more willing to spend less money to buy it on Kindle than to buy the physical copy, which I ended up doing later anyway, which is not my favorite, to have a Kindle copy and a physical copy of the book. That feels a little bit wasteful to me personally, to spend money on the same book twice. But that's what I ended up doing in that case. And yes, I did read that entire book on my phone. So if I can do it, so can you. Now, with a Kindle, this is what I do. I have an Amazon wish list with all the Kindle books that I'm looking at reading/buying. I have this list, and no joke, I go through that list every single day, because Amazon frequently has Kindle deals that only last for 24 hours. So you can go look at the Kindle deals page, or you can look at only the books that you are considering buying. And there have been many a time where I look at that list and one of the books that I've been looking at for weeks, months, that's normally $12.99 on Kindle full price, is $1.99 for 24 hours only. And I snatch that up because then I get to read it for 99 cents when normally it's $12.99 or whatever. Not to mention, if I were to buy a new hardcover version of that book, it could end up being like $25. But I got to read that same book for 99 cents. That is the way to go. And let me just prove to you how you can maximize this, okay? So for the better part of a year, I have been saving up every single Amazon gift card that I get. When I get an Amazon gift card, I do not go on Amazon and buy random stuff. I save it to use on Kindle books. So for Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter, I've randomly gotten Kindle gift cards. I have saved those all up. In total, that equaled $120 in Amazon gift cards. This is since Christmas, I believe. And since then, I have purchased 29 books with that money, and I still have $45 left. I still have $45 left because almost every single one of those books were on sale. I only bought one of them full price. Other than that, the most expensive books that I paid for were $3.99. But normally, I try to keep it at $1.99, $2.99. And you can do that too. I highly suggest that you do that too. Please, please, please tell me in the comments if any of you guys use any of these tips, because I highly, highly suggest that you do all of these things, because then you will basically be able to read whatever books you want to read, even when they come out. Because when a book comes out, especially if it's like a popular, well-known author, normally the library has already purchased a couple copies so that they have them available right when the book is made available when it comes out. And you can go and search up all those books on your library's website and put yourself on the hold list for all of those books. And most of the time, I end up getting to read those books within the first week that they come out. So I'm just saying, if you are in the same boat as me and you're also not made of money, I suggest that you do all of these things and you too can be a book girly and read everything when it comes out right away, I promise you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it wasn't too harsh. I'm not trying to make some huge statement on the booktube community. Obviously, I'm a part of it. Like I said, I would love to be a full-time booktuber one day. However, I just think that it can look different for each person, and maybe it should. Maybe it shouldn't look like every single person on booktube having this giant library full of books that they don't even like. You know what I mean? So, I hope that my message came across the way that I wanted it to. Thank you so much for supporting me and my channel. If you like this video, you can give it a like. If you like me and my channel, you can hit that subscribe button. You can hit that little bell icon to get notified every single time that I post. All of my social media links are in the description. You can follow me on Instagram and Goodreads. I recently made a Threads account. Are we doing that? Are we using that? I don't really know, but I have one now. You can follow me on that if you'd like to. And I will see you next time. Bye!